Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session here Thursday evening. Tonight, we are going to talk about the real estate market. I try to do this once a month, give you an idea where prices are going, up, down in a variety of counties. I typically choose some of the more populated counties that we have throughout the state, from the north to the south or south to the north, whatever you want to take. It's probably a minute or two behind. I was watching the news, what's going on with the political indictment of President Trump, former President Trump. So it's definitely, I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime. So apart from that, the state of Utah, I love this time of year. We are in 80-degree temperatures, 80, 81 degrees. It is, sometimes in June, normally we're closer to 90. It's beautiful. You can do whatever your outdoor activity is. Nice, enjoyable weather. So tonight we'll talk about the real estate market. There might be a little bit of noises. I am watching some animals for a relative. So I have an extra dog, a cat, and a rabbit. So we'll see how that goes. And they're all living downstairs here. So because upstairs is our animals. So got to keep them separated a little bit. So we'll see how that goes tonight. They're fairly well behaved, aren't you, tonight? So any questions, just throw them in the chat box. We'll get going. And let's see what's happening in the real estate market. All righty. Let's start. I'm going to start with the northern county. This will be the northeastern part of the state, Cache County. And overall, what I feel is happening right now in the state of Utah, we're pretty much staying steady as far as pricing goes. There are one or two counties, a little bit of a bump. But for the most part, it is pretty much steady. And interest rates have pretty much bounced around a certain level. Pricing seems to be bouncing around a certain level, just kind of like a steady market. No drastic decreases in most of the counties. So as I look at Cache County, the popular city up there would be Logan, Utah, and the surrounding cities. For the month of May, it's hard to tell on June because we've only got 8 days worth of data. But when we finished in June, we're seeing an increase in transactions from about 83 to 117. Pricing about the exact same. There's only a $300 difference from April. So pretty much the same. Few more homes sold. Some of that has to do with the fact that more homes do sell in the spring than in the winter months, as we're starting to get out of winter. So let's drop down to Box Elder County, the county that is right below Cache County or right next to Cache County. Depends how you're looking at it on the map. And some of the popular cities would be like Brigham City and Tremont in Utah. And in this particular city, we're seeing the same data. When we're looking at price, in April, we were 402. Now we're 397.5. Just a few $1,000s separating them. Transactions actually almost doubled from 38 transactions in April to about 68 in May. So a little bit an increase in transactions. Let's drop down to Weber County. Some of the popular cities would be Ogden, North Ogden, South Ogden, West Haven, Roy, Pleasant View, Far West. So when we compare May to April, I mean, there's roughly a $2,000 difference, $1,500 difference maybe, 414 to 412. Transactions increased slightly from 289 to 319, about the same, really. And when I look at it, I consider it probably about the same. Pricing, about the same from month to month. So no significant increases or decreases. And even when we look at stuff like days on the market, the 23 is the average days in May. It was 34 in April, but we're looking at March and April. We're getting out of some of the winter months, maybe a little bit more rain, a little bit cooler temperatures. Some people aren't maybe as keen to look at homes during that time period, I should say, maybe. All right, next county down will be Davis County. Cities like Layton, Kaysville, Bountiful, Syracuse. Large area, pretty much from North Salt Lake up towards the Ogden area. A large county, a fairly large county. So we're about $511,000 median price. Now this includes everything. So this will be your when they average the townhomes, the homes, the condos, when you put it all in one lump sum. So 511 compared to about 514, $3,000 difference, not much at all. Transactions almost the same, 304 to 344, not much difference. Pretty much the same numbers, no significant changes. All right, so if we drop down to our largest county, which would be Salt Lake County, some of the popular cities would be Salt Lake City, Murray, Midvale, Cottonwood Heights, et cetera, et cetera. We did see a little bit of an increase. This is one county where we did have a jump. We were 493,000 or 494, just about, up to 535. So $35,000 to $40,000 difference in the average price. Transactions were a little bit of an increase, 1097 compared to 943. Average days on the market, only 16 days. That's a fairly low number. So yeah, a little bit of an increase there. Let's choose the next county down, which would be Utah County. Areas like Lehigh, Provo, Orem, Saratoga Springs, another large county. So we had a slight bump from 472 to about 490. Not as big of a bump as Salt Lake County. Average day is 25, very similar to areas like Weber County, Davis County. Home sales actually dropped a little, only 725 transactions and a little bit of a decline. So in March, we were 829, 763, 725, a little bit of a decrease there in Utah County as far as transaction count. Average price, it bumped up a little bit. Okay, how about the southern part of the state, which would be Washington County? The major city down there would be St. George, Utah. So this particular county saw a decrease from 575 down to 510. But there was an increase in transactions from 153 to 189. And I also noticed average days on the market, 36 days, a little larger. So homes are sitting a little longer on the market when you compare it to Utah County, Salt Lake County, some of the other counties that I mentioned earlier. So a little bit of a decrease. So we were at like a steady increase from 480 to 512 to 575, now down to 510. We'll see how it plays out next month. Maybe it's only a temporary decrease. I mean, it's a large decrease, $65,000. That's significant. That's about 10%. Yeah, somewhere around 10% decrease. So yeah. So that's the larger counties that we have, the more populated counties in the state of Utah, with what is going on. If you were looking at a particular city or something like that, and you need data from that area, I'd be glad to help you out sometime. Low. When the price of a house drops, does it tend to sell quicker than otherwise? I would say it's hard to say. It depends on why there is a price drop. So if it was overpriced in the first place, many times you can look at all the comps and put it in front of a seller and say, hey, the average price in this neighborhood is 575, and the seller decides, hey, we're listing it for 625. No argument. So if we go from 625 to 575, that price drop is only getting us to where it should have been in the first place because it was overpriced. So then you'll see some traction, and then the home should possibly sell, or maybe sell for a little bit lower than that price. So it really depends. Sometimes home prices are dropped also on condition of a home. Once again, you take that same neighborhood, 575, and you get a house that's very clean, very well maintained, some of the latest upgrades, some of the latest color schemes, new carpet, and you get a house maybe around the corner that has the same paint and carpet and flooring and everything from 20, 25, 30 years ago. The yard has not been maintained as well, doesn't have that curb appeal. Then it will need a price drop sometimes to get it to sell. So, for instance, if it has been on the market for a while. So my question always is, why has it been on the market for a while? So I almost have to go back. Is it the neighborhood? Some neighborhoods are more desirable than others, especially when it comes to school districts. A lot of families like to be in some of the top school districts. So condition of the home, condition of the neighbor's home. That's sometimes a big factor. You pull up to a beautiful house and the neighbors next door, maybe it's not quite as nice. Let's just put it that way. I've had people many times instantly, we're in a house and they're like, Mike, it's a beautiful house. I can't live next to a neighbor like that. So, it's a lot of things come into play sometimes. I hope that answered your question. If not, let me know and I'll give another shot at it. But yeah, it's difficult sometimes. Depends what kind of market you're in, where the home is located, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's also different when you're working with somebody. When I work with somebody that's from the state of Utah, or I should say has lived here for a while, has family and relatives, sometimes their list of wants and desires and needs is different than somebody that's moving from out of state. See, someone's moved from out of state. They have no friends here, no relatives here. Their main criteria could be, how close is it to work? How close is it to a certain school? How close is it to a certain recreational facility? Where sometimes you'll get somebody who has a lot of family members around the area. They sometimes would like to live in the same city as other family members. Maybe they like to, pop over there for a barbecue, a picnic, or use mom and dad, grandma as a babysitter. They don't want to drive an hour away for a babysitter. So their top priority would be a home in a neighborhood. So, and I could tell you a recent case here in a particular city. And this actually happened during the during what I consider the boom of COVID, a lady just went through a divorce, had 3 or 4 kids. She wanted to stay in that same neighborhood because her kids all went to school there. That was her number one priority, just to keep life how it has been. We put an offer in. Many people put an offer in, but we wrote a letter to the gentleman that was selling the house, and basically said that, the reason we're choosing the house is because of A, B, C, and D. We want to be in this particular neighborhood. It's the only neighborhood we want to be in because of school and everything. And our offer was accepted based off of that. And the homeowner actually said, I know what that's like. This individual was a single parent himself. And he's like, I understand 100%. I would do the exact same thing for my child. And put us at the top of the list. So I call them love letters. Some people call them something else or whatever, but sometimes it works. So anyways, I kind of get off tangent sometimes a little bit, but yeah, and sometimes people are like, well, why did we lose the bid? Sometimes it's because of items just like that. Sometimes it's not all about the highest dollar, the et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it's about, some sellers are swayed. I've had sellers that flat out say, Mike, I would rather sell my home to a VA individual, someone who is a veteran. It's sometimes tougher to get a home as a veteran. And I've had, especially around the military base here, I've had sellers that, they're like, if I could get an offer from a veteran, that's who I would like to sell my home to. So different reasons for different situations and different folks. Any more questions this evening? Or I call an evening and maybe pop up to the TV and see how the political showcase is going. Sometimes hearing you ramble on can be the greatest source of unasked questions that may be forgotten. There you go. I can always ramble on. Yeah. The real estate industry is not cut and dry. It is, there's a lot of variables when you're talking buying, selling, and especially in a booming market, who gets the price. Now, sometimes it is 100% price, and sometimes it's 100% the terms. Someone comes along, all cash, no financing, and it trumps all the other offers. But there are times that it's different. It's different for different people. So there's actually times that I've had sellers say, they really love their neighborhood. And their number one thing is, they're like, Mike, when I sell this home, I want an amazing person to own the home, to get along with the neighbors and have that community feeling that we have enjoyed in this street or cul-de-sac or whatever. And it's sometimes it's like, you really can't judge somebody by, just meet him one time or et cetera, et cetera. But there has been times where a neighbor down the road or someone else knows that the home is for sale, and they know someone who had looked at the home, and they'll come to the seller and say, hey, one of my friends or one of my coworkers put an offer on your house. They're a great person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that weighs very heavy sometimes on a seller. Like, oh, I feel real comfortable and I'd like to accept that particular offer because it came with a great recommendation. Yep. You have a good night too. And I will call it an evening. Thank you. I'll be back again next week. Thank you.